You're on an amazing journey towards something compelling, wealth. But not just money in the bank wealth. We're talking about a richness that starts in your mind, because that's where all great things begin. Think of it like a tiny seed planted not in the ground, but in your deepest thoughts. If you're noticing these signs, it means that seed is already starting to sprout. 1. You can't stand good enough anymore. You feel it more than ever. A growing irritation with just doing the bare minimum. Before, you might have been okay with just getting by, clocking in without a real purpose, spending without thinking, or surrounding yourself with distractions. Now, that feels unbearable. This isn't just you being annoyed. It's an awakening. Your mind is rejecting things that no longer fit who you are becoming. You're pushing away the habits, the people, and the beliefs that kept you stuck. Not just financially, but in your spirit, your mind, and your emotions. Wealth begins when you bravely say, "This isn't who I am anymore." You're no longer impressed by flashy things or pointless small talk. You crave real plans, solid results, and freedom. Not by luck, but by making it happen. This deep desire is a signal that you've crossed a line. You're starting to carry yourself like someone who has made a big decision. And when you truly decide, the world starts to work with you. 2. You protect your time like gold. Another clear sign is that you can't stand wasting time. You now understand that time is the most valuable thing wealthy people have. People who struggle often just let time slip away. Average people trade their time for quick fun, but the wealthy? They invest it. Every second becomes a building block for your future. You're not just living for the weekend anymore. You're living for your big vision. You've realized that even 1 hour spent building something useful is worth more than a whole year spent just wishing for things. Because you see this truth, you start protecting your time like a precious treasure. You say no more often now, not because you're arrogant, but because you're focused on what truly matters to you. Every no to a distraction is a yes to your destiny. You become tired of idle chat, endless scrolling, and mindless entertainment. You're no longer available to people who drain your energy and dull your sharp edge. You get that your energy is sacred and your attention is wealth. The person who can control their attention will always control their results. And you've started to master your attention. That's a huge sign. While others react to life, you're intentional. While others consume, you create. While others chase, you attract. You're no longer scattered, you're focused. And focus is what breaks the chains of poverty. When you're focused, you can't be tricked or distracted by comparing yourself to others. You walk with a clear path, and someone with a clear path is always wealthier than someone who's confused, no matter how much money they have right now. 3. You're thinking way ahead. You've also started thinking long-term, and that's another clear sign. You no longer make decisions based on sudden feelings. You started to build systems. You're thinking in terms of years, not just days. You're not just chasing your next paycheck. You're building a strong foundation. You're building assets. Assets of good character, assets of useful skills, assets of true value. You become the kind of person who asks, how will this help me in 5 years? Instead of how does this make me feel today? And that change, even if it seems small, is the very foundation of great success. 4. Your view of money has changed. You see money differently now, and that's a huge mark of growth. Where you once feared money, now you respect it. You understand that money is a tool to serve you, not something that controls you. You see money as something that makes things bigger, not something that saves you from everything. Most importantly, you now see money as a result of the value you provide, not just how much effort you put in. You've stopped trading your hours for dollars and started multiplying your value through smart thinking, new ideas, and better systems. This is wealth consciousness. Wealth isn't just a number, it's a mindset. And your mindset is no longer poor. Poor minds blame, complain, and wait. Wealthy minds create, solve, and act. You've stopped blaming your past. You've stopped waiting for permission. You've stopped looking for outside signs. You are now the sign. You are the one who moves first. You are the one who says, "It starts with me." That is power, and power always comes before prosperity. 5. You're obsessed with getting better. Another sign you're on the path to wealth. You are now obsessed with growth. You're reading more, learning more, asking deeper questions, and listening to conversations that challenge you. You're replacing pointless gossip with valuable mentorship. You're replacing complaints with commitments. You're replacing just thinking about things with actually doing them. And that action, even if it's not perfect, is creating momentum. Momentum is the most important thing for someone seeking wealth. Not speed, because speed fades, but momentum builds. Every disciplined day you complete, every focused hour you put in, every tough choice you follow through with adds weight to your character. And that weight creates gravity. People feel it, opportunities feel it. When the world senses how serious you are, it responds. You're becoming serious now, not in your mood, but in your mission. You smile more, not because life is suddenly easy, but because you are in sync with your true self. You no longer panic when things go wrong. You stop making excuses. You don't just talk about goals. You walk like someone who expects to win. You carry yourself like a person who has already achieved it in their mind. Every wealthy person ever studied had one thing in common. They acted as if they already had their results. They didn't wait for success to show up before acting like they deserved it. They moved like the money was already promised. They planned like their vision was already real. And now, you're doing the same. You visualize your success in the morning. You speak words of victory over your life. You guard your words because you know words create. Your language is changing. That's a powerful sign. You no longer say, "I can't," "maybe," or "hopefully." You say, "I will," "I am," and it's done. You've erased doubt from your vocabulary. You've stopped repeating old failure stories. You've made your voice a tool for predicting your future. You're now describing your future with great detail. And when you control your language, you control your reality. 6. Your circle is getting smaller and stronger. Your group of friends and associates is changing too. That's another sign. You're growing beyond casual conversations. You're leaving behind communities where comfort is the main goal. Not because you think you're better, but because you're building something bigger. And the bigger your vision, the more focused your group needs to be. You understand that being around the right people gives you power, and unfortunately, poverty can be contagious. So, you started putting yourself in rooms where excellence is the normal standard. You've learned that you don't need to be the smartest person in the room. You just need to be in rooms where smart people are talking. You've become a student of wealth, not just how to make money, but the core principles, the energy behind it, and how to create a lasting impact. You're no longer just looking for ways to earn. You're building a philosophy, a system, a set of rules for your life. And that code is carrying you forward. And one more thing, adversity makes you stronger. Another sign you're on this path. Difficulties no longer break you. They build you. Where you once gave up under pressure, now you grow. You understand that every obstacle is like training. You stop being angry about failures and started learning from them. You don't avoid pain. You use it. You take the wisdom from it. You use it as fuel. And because of that, you move through challenges with grace. This is the mark of someone being prepared for great wealth, because wealth needs a strong container, and that container is character. If you're seeing these signs, it means your character is growing. You're becoming reliable with your word. You're finishing what you started. You're showing up even when you don't feel like it. You're becoming the kind of person who can be trusted with more. And trust always comes before great transfers of wealth. That's a spiritual law. When you can be trusted, Wealth finds you because wealth is energy, and energy flows to where there's structure. When you build structure through good habits, a clear vision, serving others, and consistency, the energy of abundance starts to move towards you. Not because you tricked the system, but because you became the system. You become the system now. You're no longer just guessing, you're executing. You're no longer just hoping, you're building. And that, my friend, is the clearest sign of all. You're on a path to wealth. There's a moment in everyone's journey when they start to feel this shift. It's not about what they have, but about who they are becoming. This shift is quiet. It doesn't come with applause. It arrives as new standards. It shows up when you start holding yourself to a higher level, even when no one is watching. It reveals itself when you start doing what most people won't, because you know your future demands it. If you're seeing these signs, you're no longer chasing money. You're becoming the kind of person money chases. And remember, truly wealthy people don't lead with money. They lead with value, clarity, and purpose, because they understand that wealth isn't pursued, it's attracted. You attract wealth by becoming useful, reliable, and excellent. Every time you increase your usefulness, your wealth potential multiplies. The world is full of people who want to be rich, but the world is built by useful people. Look at your habits now. If you're seeing these signs, it means your habits have started to line up with long-term gains rather than just quick fixes. You're not just eating for pleasure, you're eating for energy. You're not just sleeping to escape, you're resting to recover. You're no longer scrolling just to pass time, you're reading to expand. These aren't small things. These are signs that your identity is shifting. And identity is the engine of wealth. When you change how you see yourself, you change what you allow into your life. A struggling person excuses bad habits. A wealthy person builds their life around discipline. Discipline isn't a punishment, it's a privilege. Discipline protects your time, your emotions, and your focus. Without it, nothing great can last. With it, everything becomes possible. If your mornings are more structured, your environment more intentional, and your calendar more organized, it's no accident. These are the actions of someone preparing to manage great things, not just survive. You can't handle true wealth if you're still thinking like someone just trying to get by. You must start thinking like someone with a legacy to build. Someone with a legacy doesn't waste time arguing, doesn't chase cheap approval, and doesn't measure their worth by applause. They're grounded in their principles. They understand that real wealth isn't just about how much they earn. It's about how much they build, how much they keep, and how much they can pass on so the next generation doesn't have to start from scratch. Your relationship with work has grown. Another sign you're on the path to wealth. Your relationship with work has changed. You stopped asking for easy ways out. You stopped looking for shortcuts. You stopped idolizing easy money without first becoming someone who actively creates value. You understand that leverage, doing more with less, only works when there's real value present. You now see hard work as a sacred process, not something to avoid, but something to master. You no longer see your effort as a struggle. You see it as a gateway. Because every time you repeat a task, every focused effort, every hour of deliberate action builds your competence. And competence is currency. Wealthy people are masters of something. Not everything, but something. They commit, they refine, they simplify. And in that simplicity, they find power. You're no longer easily distracted by trends. You're not jumping from one idea to the next. You've chosen your path. You've chosen your mission. And now you're digging deep, building depth. Because surface-level effort produces surface-level results, but depth creates mastery. You control your emotions. Another sign you're walking the path. You've learned to control your emotions. Where you once reacted, now you respond. Where you once panicked, now you pause. Where you once took everything personally, now you investigate. You understand that emotional intelligence isn't a weakness, it's a weapon. It allows you to move strategically when others are driven by impulse. It allows you to make decisions based on strong principles, not just pressure. And that difference, that inner strength, is what makes you a person who can lead, who can build, who can multiply. And multiplication is the key, not just of money, but of yourself. When you start thinking about multiplying your time, your skills, your vision, your message, your mind has entered the world of wealth. Because wealthy minds don't just spend, they multiply. Poor minds only consume. They want the next thrill, the next quick fix. Wealthy minds delay instant gratification for the sake of multiplication. That's why you're studying instead of endlessly scrolling. That's why you're building systems instead of escaping stress. That's why you're investing your energy instead of draining it. You're starting to realize that every action you take is either an asset or a liability. Every habit either works for you or against you. And because you've seen this truth, you're starting to make decisions from the perspective of your future self, not your current feelings. This is the turning point most people never reach. The moment when your vision becomes louder than your emotions. When your why outweighs your weaknesses. When you choose based on the outcome, not on what's comfortable right now. That's not just growth. That's preparation for abundance. You're building structure and responsibility. You are preparing now, not just with goals, but with structure. You started tracking your efforts. You measure your energy. You review how you spend your time. You track your spending. You track your behavior. Not because you're obsessive, but because you are responsible, and responsibility is the foundation of freedom. The person who cannot be responsible cannot be truly rich, because wealth will always flee a life of disorder. But wealth is drawn to discipline, to good management, to intentionality. Your inner voice is stronger. Another sign you're on the path. Your self-talk has become stronger. You no longer beat yourself up for every mistake. You learn. You adjust. You speak words of encouragement to yourself. You declare truth. You understand that you must lead yourself before you can lead anything else. And that leadership begins in the mirror. Every morning, you choose the voice you listen to. And now you're choosing the voice of power. You're building yourself with language that empowers you. That is not weakness. That is mastery. You no longer need hype. You've outgrown needing motivation without actual action. You're no longer impressed by flashy lifestyles with no real foundation. You respect consistency. You admire humility. You seek wisdom. You'd rather be quiet and successful than loud and empty. And that inner shift, that depth of character, is a magnet for lasting wealth. You're tuned into energy and intuition. Let's talk about the unseen. If you're seeing these signs, you've likely become more sensitive to energy. You can feel when something isn't right. You can tell when a person's words don't match their true feelings. You can sense when an opportunity isn't right, even if it looks good on the surface. That sensitivity isn't weakness, it's discernment. It means your intuition is getting sharper. And the wealthy person always trusts their gut, not out of emotion, but out of awareness. You are aware now, not paranoid, but aware of your choices, your patterns, your blind spots. And that awareness gives you the power to adjust before serious damage is done. That's what separates the person who keeps what they build from the person who loses it. It's not just intelligence, it's awareness. It's the humility to adapt, to ask better questions, to evolve when others become too proud. If you're seeing this humility in yourself, you are on sacred ground. Because the path to wealth is sacred. It's not for everyone. It's not for the crowd. It's for the committed. The person who stays when it's hard. The person who decides when others delay. The person who sacrifices short-term approval for long-term abundance. That's you now. You don't just want more, you are becoming more. Your life might not show it fully yet. You might still be in the early stages. You might still be climbing. But inside, you already know you are different now. Your mind is sharper. Your intentions are clearer. Your actions are bolder. You're no longer the same, and you're never going back. That is wealth. Not just having, but becoming. And every sign you're seeing now is proof. You are becoming the kind of person who can handle wealth, manage wealth, multiply wealth, and pass on wealth, not just of money, but of mind. And that, my friend, is priceless. It's not if, it's when. If you're still seeing these signs, and more importantly, if you're still living them, then let me tell you something few will say out loud. Wealth is no longer a possibility for you. It's an inevitability. Why? Because you've already become the kind of person wealth was designed to serve. You no longer need to chase riches like someone begging for a blessing. You've earned the right to expect prosperity, not through arrogance, but through alignment. Your thoughts, your decisions, your actions, and your standards now reflect abundance at their core. Look at how you now treat your mornings, not as a rush of obligations, but as sacred ground. You rise with purpose, not panic. You prepare, not react. You lead your day instead of waiting to be led by it. And every day that begins with intention is a seed of wealth planted. Compound that intention over months, years, and decades, and no force in the world can stop what's coming to you. Wealth is not for the scattered. It flows to the deliberate. And you, my friend, have become a person of deliberate purpose. Your goals have shifted. Even your goals have changed. Where you once chased status, now you pursue significance. Where you once wanted money to feel powerful, now you know power is the ability to control yourself. You've discovered that real freedom isn't about buying more. It's about needing less. And from that perspective, you've stepped into mastery. Because the person who needs nothing is the most unstoppable person alive. They cannot be manipulated. They cannot be distracted. They cannot be bought. And because of that, wealth is now drawn to them naturally. You've learned that the wealthiest people are not the ones who hoard, but the ones who create. You've stepped into the mindset of value creation. You don't ask, what can I get? You ask, what can I give that multiplies? This is what separates the wealthy from the hopeful. Hopeful people wish. Wealthy people serve. They understand that money follows value, and value comes from a refined mind and sharpened skills. You are sharpening now. Every day you think deeper. Every day you solve problems faster. Every day you speak with more clarity. That is the evidence of a person preparing for great things. Identity is key. Let's not forget the inner shift that comes before every financial breakthrough. Identity. If your identity has changed, your reality has already begun to change. You no longer say, I'm trying. You say, I'm becoming. You don't say, maybe one day. You say, it's already done. I'm just catching up to it. You walk like it's done. You work like it's done. You plan like it's done. And that inner shift is what the world responds to. Energy doesn't lie. When your mind is made up, reality bends to match. Even in silence, you are building. You no longer need constant praise to know you're on track. You've developed the habit of showing up even when no one notices. You've let go of the need for approval. You've become your accountability. And that self-respect, that integrity, that's what wealthy people are made of. Wealth without good character is short-lived. But wealth built on identity, intention, and inner power, that kind of wealth lasts for generations. Let me tell you this. It is no longer a matter of if. It is a matter of when. The person you're becoming is inevitable. Because you no longer make decisions from your current limitations. You make them from your future self. You don't ask, what can I afford? You ask, what does the person I'm becoming choose? You've stopped cutting corners out of fear. You've started investing in your faith. You've made every dollar a soldier, every task a message, every conversation an opportunity. And because of that, wealth has no choice but to enter your life. You now speak clearly and with conviction. You own your time. You protect your energy. You move with purpose, not rush. You think ahead. You ask questions. You no longer wait for life to tell you what you're worth. You assign it to yourself. And when you know your value, the world responds. You don't beg for worth, you walk in it. Solitude is your power. You've made peace with being alone. Where you once feared it, now you cherish it. Because solitude has become your workshop, your training ground, your vision board, your place of refinement. The person who can sit in silence and build in the dark is the person who can handle abundance in the light. Most people fear silence because it forces them to face themselves. But you faced yourself and you didn't flinch. You grew, and that growth is priceless. You've stopped relying on others for your discipline. You've stopped making others responsible for your habits. You no longer need a reminder to do what you said you'd do. You honor your word, even in private. And when your private actions match your public promises, that is wealth. Because true wealth is about being consistent. No double standards, one mind, one mission, one person. You have true vision. You've developed vision. Not the kind sold on posters, but the kind deeply rooted in your spirit. You see your future before it's visible. You speak life into difficult situations. You build when there's no audience. You plant seeds when others are complaining about the weather. And because of that, you will reap what others only dream about. Not by luck, not by inheritance, but by law. The law of cause and effect, the law of belief, the law of responsibility, the law of mental clarity. If you are truly walking this path, there is one more sign that cannot be ignored. You've become impossible to stop. You're no longer shaken by delays. You are no longer discouraged by rejection. You're no longer broken by setbacks. Why? Because you've trained your mind to see all pain as preparation. You've mastered the ability to gain from difficulties. You're an alchemist now. You turn resistance into results, loss into leverage, delay into direction. You've made excellence your default. Not something you do when you feel like it, but who you are, even when no one's looking. You've made integrity your compass. You've made purpose your currency. You no longer just talk about goals. You talk about systems because systems produce goals. Goals inspire, but systems build. And you, my friend, are building every single day. You're no longer chasing big, sudden wins. You're stacking small ones because you know the powerful effect of daily discipline will beat any quick success story. You're not building for next week. You're building for your legacy. You're not here to impress. You're here to last. And that mindset, that long game approach, is what makes wealth inevitable. You're being forged. So I'll say it again. If you're seeing these signs, you're not on the wrong track. You're not late. You're not lost. You're being forged. And everything you're becoming now, the habits, the confidence, the clarity, these aren't accidents. These are confirmations. Confirmations that you're walking in alignment with the person you were always meant to become. That person is already inside of you. He's the one who wakes up early, who learns instead of complains, who acts instead of hesitates, who speaks truth, lives truth, and builds truth. He doesn't just wear success, he embodies it. And every day, that person is growing stronger, sharper, bolder, freer. You don't owe the world an explanation. You don't owe anyone proof. You owe yourself follow-through. You owe yourself consistency. You owe your future family the version of you who didn't give up when it got hard. You owe your life's purpose to a person who answered it without excuses. So stand tall, walk firmly, keep building. The world may not notice today, but wealth has already taken notice because the person you are now disciplined, aligned, clear, and constantly becoming is the very person wealth was searching for all along.